Hello everyone and welcome to Diamond Art with Dell. Today we're jumping right in and getting started with a resin workshop video. This one I am mixing up a 1:1 ratio resin and I've added some colors. This time I'm using some blue and some powders as well. So this powder here is a glow in the dark powder, and I've got also some shells and some sea stars as well. So what I've mixed up here is a 1:1 ratio resin, epoxy resin, and I've added a couple of drops of my alcohol ink, just a little bit, just to give a little bit of colour. And then I've added some glitter as well. So just some beautiful silver glitter, just to give it some sparkle. So this is going to be quite a clear cast, like not opaque, so you'll still be able to see through it, and have some little sparkles and some additives as well to make it look really pretty. So I'm going with sort of an ocean theme style colours, I suppose you'll say, and additives, using the seashells and those sea stars. And I've decided to use the one that I'm pouring right now is a little jar, and it's got a little screw lid and things like that, and I thought it would be really cute little jar to put in the bathroom. And I'm also going to make alongside it there, I have a little soap dish, and that is like a little seashell. So that sort of inspired me for this pour. I really like that little seashell mold there. I have used it once before and I really found it was, I don't know, really beautiful texture to it, and I really like the design. So a little fun little mold to play with. So I'm going to do it again, but as a little set with these guys. So now I'm just taking some of these little sea stars and I'm going to pop them down the side. So my idea is to hopefully be able to push them down so they will sit near the bottom of the jar, but basically still sit on the side of the jar, if you know what I mean, so they can still be seen sitting there. So I just want to make it around the bottom part of the jar. So hopefully I can get them to sit where I want to. They do want to float around a lot and things like that and move because they are quite light, and I think there's a little bit of air or something maybe inside those shells also pushing them around. But I'm going to keep just adding them and pushing them down with my fingers, and I might even just get one of the little tongue compressors that I've got and actually push them along with that as well later on. So this is the lid, and I thought I'm just going to do a very simple design with the lid and just add some stars. I might actually put it up the right way, that would be better. So just thinking about which way my mould is going to be facing, sort of thing, when it's all demolded, and which way the items are going to go into the resin is something that you've got to sort of think about as you're going through your design. So I don't want to overcrowd it, but I do want to have the same elements in the lid as I have in the jar. So I'm adding a couple more shells, just a little white ones I've just got here. You can purchase these easy enough on AliExpress or Amazon, those kind of places. I'm pretty sure I've got these particular shells from, I think, AliExpress, but you can get them from online, old craft stores, or if you're lucky enough to be by a beach, you might be able to collect something and put that in yourself. There you go. Now I'm just giving a little bit more of a squidgy, a little bit of a push around the edges because this ridge is quite thin, and I want to make sure all the resin's getting in there, and also I'm not trapping any bubbles. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just giving it a bit of a squeeze on the sides, just trying to gently sort of maneuver any air bubbles out. I don't want to create more by being too fast or rough or whatever. So I'm just gently trying to, just make sure that resin's getting into the spots it's supposed to, so I can get a good, nice pour without bubbles and other nasty things ruining my my craft. So I'm just using one of the tongue compressors here, and I'm going to give everything a little bit of a readjustment because these additives, these little sea stars and so forth, are very light and they want to float up out of the resin. And I want to keep them down the side as much as I can. So a little bit of a wipe and a tap just to make sure everything's going down nicely and clean, and I've got all the air bubbles out, so I'm just making sure that's tidy. And I think that we're pretty right to go on this one. Just another little tap tap. And then shortly I will leave this one alone and move on to the seashell. So here we go. So I'm pouring some of the same resin. This is still the 1-to-1 mix with the glitter, just a silver glitter. It's a very fine glitter. You could add any kind of glitter you want here, and you can just pour that straight in and then add additives, or if you like you could put other things at that stage as well. Now again, this mold is got some sides there that really need a little bit of adjusting and helping to get the resin down into those grooves, and I'll continue to do that shortly. But first I'm going to add some stars and some seashells again. Now because when I turn the dish over it'll be facing up, I'm going to put the design facing that way, if you know what I mean. So I'm actually, everything's upside down to what it should look like when it's sitting on the bench, basically, so that I can get the details showing up through the resin. Hopefully this will work because there's some ridges and so forth in that particular mold. Now I'm adding a little bit more resin because as you can see it's not quite full yet, but I didn't want to fill up too much while I kept just squeezing and moving, because I didn't want to have accidentally squeeze resin out as I'm trying to maneuver it around the mold. And I did need to mix a little bit more up because I'd run out. Just a little bit more was needed. Now you can actually get calculators and things to work out your resin, and I really need to start doing that, but unfortunately I just sort of go with the flow and just start mixing up what I think's right. And sometimes it works out, sometimes I've got too much, but that's okay. It's all a bit of fun, and I just experiment and have a bit of a play and hope that these beautiful designs work out in my head, come out into real life. So you can see there on the bottom I have a bit of a bubbly gap, if you might say, where there's still an air pocket down in this little bottom of the mold. So I'm just going to squeeze it and tip it and try and get that resin to run into that section. There it goes. You can see it moving across. So you want to make sure that you don't leave any air pockets. And it is a little bit hard if you're using a clear colour, but when you've got a little bit of either the inks or other colours into the resin or mica powders and things, you'll find that you can sort of see it a little bit better in the moulds. All right, just topping this one up because it started to sink a little bit, and I wanted to make sure I had a really nice flat bottom to my jar. So I've got a little bit of leftover resin here from the pour now, so I'm just going to top up everything and make sure everyone is nice and full and sitting just right. Okay, I'm all done, so it's time for cleanup. I'm just going to tidy up my moulds, let them sit and rest, and come back the next day so we can have a look at these finished products. Now the fun part is going off and cleaning up all the mess and letting these guys rest overnight, and we'll see what they look like. Well, welcome back. It is the next day, and these are nice and firm and ready to go. This is looking really nice. That is the other side of the seashell. You can see all the supports there. Again, with the lid looking really nice and smooth, a nice texture. So I'm pretty happy with what's happening so far with them. It's a really pretty colour. I'm really happy with that as well. And I know it's a very simple design, but it looks kind of neat all matched together. So here we go. So I'm going to firstly put these aside, and we're going to open up and demold now the little soap dish. Now getting your fingers onto the edge of these molds is a little bit tricky, I find sometimes, because the resin can be quite sharp on the edge there, and I've already cut myself one too many times, and so I'm a little bit careful just getting started. Now this mold is super duper tight and really hard to sort of get that starting point, and the resin is feels a little flex in it because it's only a very thin pour. Maybe it's the shape as well, but I could actually feel this moving in my hand, so I was a little bit wary of that and just wanted to just slowly sort of get the mold off without hopefully bending or breaking or doing any other sort of funny things I do to the resin. But I was successful and the mold has come up nice and clean and it's bounced back nicely and it's ready to go again pretty much with a little bit of a wipeout. So here is my finished soap dish and I think that's rather pretty. I really like this design. But then again, oh no, I had to drop it, didn't I? Oh, that's okay. Thank goodness it's resin and not glass or something. Dust it off, she'll be fine. You can see all these beautiful ridges. I'll just clean that up a bit there. So there you go. That is beautiful. So you can see the sea stars and that coming through. Not too bad. And yeah, you can kind of see them there. You could also add patterns, decals, stickers and other things into your design as well with these sort of things. But with the ridges, I thought this might work. Okay, so that's that little thing. It's very light. It's very pretty and sparkly. I think this will look really nice in a bathroom. And the mold's ready to go again. I really like this one. I think I'll play again with that one. It makes some other colours and designs. Next up I have, of course, is the jar. So this one I haven't used before, so I'm pretty curious about how this is going to turn out actually. Now, most of the little stars did stay where I kind of wanted them to. A couple you can see that the bottom has actually floated around to the base, but that's okay. It was a bit of an experiment to see how they work over time. They'll move. Again, it's really hard to get that starting point because I'm worried I'm going to throw it away or it's very slippery and I'm going to do something silly and have it go flying again. But once you sort of get it started, it's not too bad. And get a real hold on it. There we go. Now it's coming out now. Oh, looking really pretty and shiny. Beautiful molds actually. These ones I got off AliExpress. And they've got left a nice shine on my resin. So I'm really happy about that. Now this one took a bit of effort to pull out of that centerpiece. As you can see, it's got like a insert to give the hollow nature of the jar. So that's that part there that's sticking out. So you just need to pop that back in to shape and it'll be ready to go again. But you can see it's a nice clean mold and no problems there, nice and smooth. I'm really happy with how these are turned out actually, these little molds. I think I'll be able to use that again and have a lot of other fun designs and honestly lots of different patterns and colours. Alright, so let's see what we got. So this is the little jar. As you can see, there's a nice little ridge there. I've got like a thread. Now, unfortunately, a little bit on the thread there, some little air pockets, if you can see there. So a couple of little air bubbles have gone on here and there throughout the actual thread of the jar. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I think it's a tricky little spot as well. So I'll just have to work on that for next time. Some of the other parts, though, have gone into great areas. I can see some of the little shells have moved down and some of the stars have stayed around the base. So you can sort of see them in there and it gives a nice little design. Maybe a few more I needed. I'm not really sure. Now for the lid. And the lid's looking really nice at the top. I'm really liking how it's the little stars and so forth are still stayed in their places. And now we're just going to get this ridge off. Now these are really quite firm to move. I find it really tight. And yeah, it was a little bit tricky because of the different shape on the edge of the jar. But once I got there and popped it out, it was nice and clean. And you can see there the mould. It's really nice, smooth and shiny. And it stayed in shape well. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now for the lid, you can see it's got like a little thread inside there, and that feels quite smooth actually. The lid has come up quite well, so I haven't got any air pockets or anything nasty going on inside there, so that's really good. Now it's nice and clear. The lid's turned out really well and the design's kind of cute, and it's got a little pattern around the edge of it to give it sort of a little old-fashioned jar. But this is the real test. See if actually the lid will screw on. Now, I don't know why I was feeling a bit skeptical about that. But, yeah, actually it goes on really nice and firm and tight. It does sort of scratch up or scuff your resin piece a little bit when they do thread on. So I'm not sure if that was just the way I was putting the jar lid on, or is it just because there's a little bit too much resin in thickness? I'm not sure what that was, or if it's got to do with the air bubbles not giving me a flat surface. But all in all, it's come up really nice little jar, and it looks like a really cute little set. So you can pop this in your bathroom, put your soap in there, put like your little bits and pieces in your jar, whether it's some hair clips or other little soaps or things, whatever you like really. You can just use it for anything. And yeah, this has turned out a really lovely little set. And you can go to town and make whatever colours you like. You can add some powders or something, can do whatever. But yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that that thread has turned out the way it has, but maybe if I re-pour it, it might not happen again. I'm not sure. This is the first time I've used this mould, so I'm not 100% sure why that happened. But yeah, a little bit of a tidy up and she'll be right to go. I'll get that sorted. So that's it. That's my little bathroom set. I think it's turned out rather lovely. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of this one. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and hit the bell so you know when I upload next. And take a look at the finished products. I think they turned out rather nice. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time in my next video. Thanks guys.
Me wind and rain, you're some kind of bird.